U.S. President Donald Trump has canceled trade talks with Canada over an anti-tariff advert released by the Ontario government featuring former Republican President Ronald Reagan. Trump said in a statement online that the ad, which features Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs, was, quote, fake. Trump also attributed the campaign to the Canadian government rather than that of the province of Ontario. The ad uses very real excerpts from a 1987 national radio address by Reagan that focused on foreign trade. The Ronald Reagan Foundation says the editing misrepresents what the former Republican president said. Let's have a listen to some of that advert.
High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
Let's take a closer look at this and bring in David Dunn. He's a professor of international politics at the University of Birmingham. David, let's start with the basics here. Donald Trump calls this fake. Is it?
Of course not. This is a broadcast that was recorded at Camp David in '87. Obviously, the whole broadcast isn't part of the advert. The advert's only a minute long, so there's edited bits of it, and that's partly what the museum was saying. The Reagan Museum was saying that it was some misrepresentation. It isn't. The essence of his speech and the essence of the ad are the same. That tariffs are damaging to all economies and are best avoided, and they're politically ruinous. It's just touched a nerve because Ronald Reagan has an iconic status in the Republican Party and indeed in America more generally. So to use Reagan's words in this way irritates Trump because he is supportive, of course, of his tariff policies. But of course, there's also the fact that the Supreme Court will start next month to actually look at the legality of Trump's tariffs. So the advert is timed to influence that decision, and that irritates Trump because he recognizes that it's a finally balanced decision as to whether his entire economic strategy of tariffs and using the tariffs to give tax cuts to the rich is allowed to go through. That's why he is reacting in this petulant way to the advert.
And why do you think he seems so surprised by what he's hearing in that ad? Because Reagan was a staunch defender of free trade, wasn't he? And if you listen to the entire address, he only doubles down on the idea that protectionist policies are extremely damaging to the American public and to its economic prosperity.
I don't think he's surprised. What he is irritated at having those words played at American football games and on American TV at a time when I say it's politically sensitive. What he wants to do is to reject that past in terms of the policies and to declare the message as fake, as he does. He denies reality by declaring things to be fake and hopes to shape reality by doing so. And he seeks to actually trying to punish the Canadians for the Ontario ad as a way to try and put pressure on them to remove the ad from circulation. That isn't going to happen. The Canadian economy has been hugely hit, as indeed has the American economy, by the tariffs between the two countries, and they're trying to influence the Supreme Court decision, and Trump is trying to actually counter that by these bullying tactics.
Trump famously appropriated Reagan's campaign slogan, "Let's make America great again." To what extent do their visions of a great America differ from each other?
Well, there are similarities. Reagan was a big tax cutter and someone who actually ballooned the deficit as a consequence of those tax cuts. But where the contrast is that Reagan, through that, created an economic stimulus and the economy grew under his 8-year terms. By contrast, Trump is using tariffs to pay for tax cuts to the rich. Those tariffs are an extra form of taxation that are also dislocating the petroleum and gas markets, the automobile sector, the agricultural sector, the import of steel and aluminium from Canada into the US, cross-border trade in general, there is an economic hit that has so far been absorbed, but is coming down the line will actually cut growth and cut employment and cause economic problems. And if the Supreme Court overturns the decision, it'll cause mayhem because all those tariffs will have to be paid back. So the economic stewardship of Trump compared to Reagan couldn't be more of a contrast.
We don't have much time, but I'd like to know, maybe briefly, how you think Ronald Reagan would feel about the course the U.S. is taking under Donald Trump.
Ronald Reagan will be turning in his grave, not only in terms of trade policy, but by the way in which Trump is abdicating American international leadership in terms of the rules of the international system and standing up to bullies and aggressors like Russia over Ukraine. Reagan would be horrified by Trump's policies because Trump is abdicating American leadership and abandoning American policies that Reagan stood for.
That was David Dunn of Birmingham University. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.